Okay, so here's a question nobody asks out loud, but everyone has thought at least once. Can you sue God? Like legally. In an actual court. With a judge and a gavel and everything, the answer is no. You cannot sue God. But here's the thing. That didn't stop people from trying. Multiple times, in multiple countries, with actual lawyers, and actual paperwork filed in actual courthouses. And the reasons why you can't sue God are way more interesting than you'd think. Because it's not just, that's ridiculous. There are real legal arguments here. Arguments that went all the way to real judges who had to sit down, put on their robes, and write official legal opinions about whether or not the Almighty could be served a lawsuit. Let's get into it. The most famous attempt happened in 2008. A Nebraska state senator named Ernie Chambers, a real guy, an actual elected official, filed a lawsuit against God, not metaphorically, not as a joke. He filed actual legal paperwork in Douglas County Court, Omaha, Nebraska, listing the defendant as God. His reasoning was actually pretty sharp. He said he wanted to highlight the fact that courts will accept any lawsuit no matter how absurd. He also accused God of making terroristic threats, inspiring fear, causing widespread suffering, and, this is real, of causing fearsome floods, egregious earthquakes, horrendous hurricanes, terrifying tornadoes, pestilential plagues. The man had a list, a typed, legal, submitted to a court list of complaints against God. The judge took it seriously enough to write an official response, and the response was, God cannot be sued. Not because God doesn't exist, the court didn't go there, but because God has no known address. And you cannot legally serve a lawsuit to someone with no address. That's it. That's the official legal reason. No address. Case dismissed. But wait. It gets better. Chambers came back. He argued that God is omniscient, meaning God knows everything. So God definitely knows about the lawsuit. You don't need to physically serve papers to someone who already knows everything. The judge was not convinced. Case dismissed again. Now, Chambers wasn't the only one. In 2014, a Romanian prisoner named Pavel Mircea sued God for breach of contract. His argument was that he had been baptized, which meant he and God had entered into a legal agreement. God's side of the deal was to keep him safe from evil. God had, in his opinion, failed to do this. He was in prison. Evil had clearly won. Therefore, God owed him damages. The Romanian court actually reviewed this case. Their conclusion was that God is not a legal person and therefore cannot be a defendant in a civil suit. Also, and this was the actual second reason they gave, God has no assets that could be seized to pay damages. Even if you won, there's nothing to collect. You can't garnish the wages of an omnipotent being. That's just the law. There was also a case in India where a man sued both God and the local government after his crops were destroyed by a hailstorm. He argued they were jointly responsible. The court accepted the case against the government. The case against God was quietly set aside. So why exactly is it legally impossible to sue God? Let's break it down. First, legal standing. To be sued, you have to be a legal entity. That means a person, a company, an organization, something the law recognizes as existing in a specific legal form. God is not incorporated. There is no LLC, no registered nonprofit, no legal structure. Second, jurisdiction. Courts only have authority over things within their jurisdiction. American courts have authority over American citizens and entities. Nobody has successfully argued that God falls under the jurisdiction of Douglas County, Nebraska. Third, on the service of process. This is the big one. Before a lawsuit can proceed, the defendant has to be officially notified. This is called being served. You get handed the papers. Since God has no physical address, no registered agent, and no known location, within any court's jurisdiction, you can't serve the papers. No service, no lawsuit. Fourth, no assets. Even if you somehow got past all of that, what are you collecting? You can't put a lien on heaven. You can't seize clouds. The legal system runs on the ability to enforce judgments. There's nothing enforceable here. And fifth, this one's philosophical, but courts have actually touched on it. If God is by definition perfect and all-knowing and all-powerful, then everything that happens is by definition within God's plan. You'd be suing someone for doing exactly what they intended to do, which courts generally consider a feature, not a bug. So there you have it. You cannot sue God because God has no address, no legal entity status, no assets to seize, and falls under the jurisdiction of exactly 0 courthouses on planet Earth. Ernie Chambers tried twice. A Romanian prisoner tried once. An Indian farmer tried and got halfway there. All of them lost. But here's what's actually kind of amazing about all of this. The fact that courts had to respond at all, that judges sat down and wrote official opinions explaining why God cannot be a legal defendant, means the question was taken seriously enough to answer. And honestly, that's the most human thing imaginable. We built this entire system of laws and courts and procedures, and the first thing we did was try to use it on the universe itself. Only humans would try to subpoena the divine. Drop a comment. If you could sue God, what would your case be? Because I think we all have something on the list. See you in the next one.